On the faraway planet of Virelia, the sun was not like Earth's. It burned with a soft golden light, casting long shadows over the jagged mountains and crystal forests. The air smelled faintly of minerals and rain, carrying a cool freshness that made the skin tingle. The planet was beautiful but harsh, a land where only the strongest could survive. Among the inhabitants of Virelia, Talon was known as a warrior unmatched in skill. He was tall, with silver-blue skin that shimmered under the sunlight. His eyes were deep amber, sharp and observing. Every movement he made was precise like the steps of a predator. The other aliens in his tribe respected him for his strength, but they also feared him. Talon did not smile often. He did not speak more than necessary. To many, he seemed untouchable, a figure of power and mystery that no one dared approach. Talon's life had always been one of solitude. From a young age, he had trained in the arts of combat, learning to fight with claws, energy blades, and strategic thinking. His victories in battle had become stories told across the mountains and forests of Virelia. Yet for all his success, he felt a strange emptiness. Other warriors fought for honor and glory, but Talon fought because he had to. He had no one to share his victories or his fears with. The walls around his heart were higher than any fortress, and he had built them himself. Life on Virelia was not easy. The terrain was dangerous, filled with rocky cliffs, deep canyons, and forests where shadows moved even in the brightest daylight. Talon moved through these lands with ease, his senses alert to every sound and motion. He hunted for food, patrolled his territory, and practiced his combat skills. To an outsider, it may have seemed lonely, but to Talon, it was a life of purpose. One day, the sky above Virelia changed. A bright object streaked across the atmosphere, landing in the northern crystal forest. Talon saw the glow from his mountaintop perch. Curiosity flickered in him, though he would never admit it. He had seen human ships before, explorers from another planet who came to study Virelia's rare resources. Humans were fragile creatures compared to his kind, yet they were unpredictable. Sometimes they fled in fear. Sometimes they did remarkable things that caught even Talon off guard. Talon decided to investigate. He moved silently through the crystal forest, every step calculated. The crystals around him reflected his figure, making him almost invisible. As he approached, he saw a human. The human was different from those he had met before. Tall, with dark hair and a determined stance, he moved with careful observation, examining the glowing crystals scattered across the forest floor. Talon noticed how the human's eyes lit up at the smallest detail, a smile touching his lips as he carefully touched the crystals without harming them. Talon's first instinct was caution. He crouched behind a large crystal, watching. The human did not carry weapons. He seemed harmless, but Talon knew better than to trust appearances. On Virelia, danger could hide in the most innocent forms. He stepped closer, letting the human hear the faint sound of his breathing. The human froze, then slowly turned. "Hello," the human said, his voice calm but firm. Talon stepped fully into view, his eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" His voice was low and deep, carrying a weight that made the ground seem firmer beneath him. "My name is Leo," the human replied. "I come in peace. I am here to study your planet, to learn about the crystals and your land. I mean no harm." Talon tilted his head. "Humans have come before. Most fled when they saw me. You do not," Leo smiled slightly. "Fear is easy. Curiosity is harder. I want to understand, not to conquer." The warrior studied him. There was something in Leo's eyes that caught Talon off guard. They were not wide with fear. They were bright with interest. He had not seen this in any human before. His instincts told him to be cautious, but another feeling, something unfamiliar, made him hesitate. "Follow me," Talon said finally. "But stay where I can see you." Leo nodded, and together they moved through the crystal forest. Talon led the way, his steps silent and confident. Leo followed carefully, noting every detail of the alien's movements. He could see the muscles shifting under Talon's skin, the way he scanned the forest constantly for danger. He realized that Talon was not just strong, he was perfect in every movement. As they walked, Leo spoke. "These crystals are remarkable. They glow with energy, yet they are fragile. Do you use them in your daily life?" Talon did not answer immediately. He glanced at the human. "They are part of our land. We protect them." "That is enough," Leo nodded, accepting the answer. "I understand. On Earth, humans do not always protect what is beautiful. Sometimes we take too much. The warrior was silent. Leo's words were simple, but they carried truth. Talon had spent centuries defending Virelia from outsiders who wished to exploit it. Humans were different, yet the spark of honesty in this one intrigued him. As they reached a small clearing, Leo stopped. He knelt to examine a cluster of glowing crystals. "They feel alive," he murmured. "Like they are watching us," Talon observed quietly. "They are alive in a way," he said. "Every crystal carries the memory of Virelia. Touch them carefully and they will show you what you need to see." Leo's eyes widened with wonder. "Show me?" he asked. Talon stepped closer, holding out a hand over the crystals. A faint light spread from his fingers, illuminating patterns within the stones. The energy swirled like smoke, forming shapes and images of past battles, celebrations, and rituals of Talon's people. Leo watched in awe. "They are beautiful," Leo whispered. "Your people are beautiful. Your world is beautiful. Even you." He hesitated, then said softly, "Even you are beautiful." Talon froze. No one had ever said that to him. Not about his strength, not about his skill, and certainly not about who he was. Beauty was something reserved for art, for nature, maybe for humans, but never for warriors like him. Yet here it was from this human, spoken without fear, without judgment, only admiration. For the first time, Talon felt something unfamiliar stirring inside him. A feeling he could not name. He could not deny the warmth that spread through his chest. His instincts screamed caution, but curiosity pushed him forward. "You are bold," he said finally. "Most humans would not speak so freely." Leo smiled. "And most humans do not meet a warrior like you. I see what others ignore. I see the truth." Talon did not answer. Instead, he nodded slightly and turned away. He wanted to retreat, to hide his feelings, but he also wanted to see more of this human, to understand why he could not feel fear toward him. The sun dipped lower, casting longer shadows. Talon led Leo back toward his territory, making sure the human stayed safe. Along the way, he noticed Leo examining everything with care, not rushing, not touching more than necessary. The human's respect for the land mirrored Talon's own respect, and it reminded him of why he fought so hard to protect Virelia. By the time they reached the edge of the clearing, night had begun to fall. The crystals glowed softly in the dark, casting a serene light over the forest. Talon stopped and turned to Leo. "You may stay here tonight," he said, "but you do not leave this area." "The forest is not safe after dark," Leo nodded. "I will stay." "Thank you, Talon." As Leo settled down among the crystals, Talon watched from a distance. For the first time in many cycles of the sun, he did not feel the need to move, to patrol, to fight. He felt a strange comfort in the presence of this human. The warrior who had once lived only for survival now felt a curiosity he could not ignore. The night was quiet, save for the soft hum of the crystals. Talon thought about Leo's words, about the way the human had looked at him, and about the warmth that had touched his heart. He did not understand it, yet he did not want to run from it. For the first time in his life, Talon allowed himself to wonder what it would be like to have someone beside him who did not fear him. Someone who saw him, not just as a warrior, but as a being capable of more than battle. And as the stars shone brightly above Virelia, Talon realized that his life was about to change. He did not know how or why, but he knew that the arrival of this human was not an accident. It was a beginning. The lone warrior, feared by many, had met a human who saw him differently. And for the first time, Talon felt the possibility of connection, the faint spark of something new, something more than strength. The morning sun rose over Virelia, painting the crystal forests in soft gold and blue hues. Talon watched from a ridge as Leo moved carefully through the glowing plants and crystal formations. The human's fascination with every detail made Talon pause. It was strange to see someone so small and fragile yet so full of curiosity. Talon stepped down to meet him, his feet barely making a sound on the crystalline ground. "You should be careful," he said. "The forest is beautiful, but it hides danger." Leo turned, smiling. "I am careful, Talon, but I also want to see everything. There is so much here that I do not understand." The warrior studied him. Most humans would panic at the slightest threat, yet this one moved calmly, observing, learning. There was bravery in him, a bravery not of muscle but of spirit. Talon realized he had never met anyone like Leo before. "You will follow my path," Talon said. "Stay where I can see you." "Do not wander," Leo nodded. "I will follow, but I want to learn." "Teach me," Talon hesitated. He was a warrior, trained to fight and survive, not to teach. Yet something in the human's eyes made him nod. Very well. Watch carefully. Move when I move. Breathe when I breathe. Learn but do not act without thinking. Leo listened attentively, absorbing every word. As they moved through the forest, Talon demonstrated ways to detect danger. He showed how to read the wind, how to listen to the vibrations of the ground, and how to notice patterns in the movement of animals. Leo mimicked him carefully, occasionally stumbling but always trying again. You are patient, Talon observed. Most humans give up quickly. They are too afraid to continue, Leo smiled. I am not most humans. Fear can teach, but it should not stop us. The warrior found himself respecting the human more with each passing moment. Talon had always relied on strength alone, but Leo used observation, thought, and courage in a way that Talon could not ignore. As the day passed, they came to a cliff overlooking a valley filled with luminous crystals. The sunlight refracted through the stones, creating a cascade of colors on the ground. Leo knelt to study the formations. They feel alive, he whispered. Like they are speaking to me. Talon watched quietly. They carry the memory of Virelia, he said. If you touch them carefully, they can show you history, lessons, and warnings. But you must be respectful. Leo reached out, letting his fingers hover over the crystals. A soft glow spread beneath his hand, illuminating the intricate patterns within. The energy seemed to flow into him, and he gasped with wonder. This is amazing. I have never seen anything like this. Your world. It is alive in ways I cannot explain. Talon remained still, observing the human's reaction. You understand more than you realize, he said softly. Most see only what is outside, not what is inside. Leo turned to him. I see you, Talon. Not just your strength, but your purpose, your care, and your life. You are beautiful. Talon froze. The word echoed in his mind. He had heard it once before, and yet each time it felt strange and powerful. No one had ever spoken to him in such a way. He did not respond, but he could not hide the warmth that touched his chest. The day wore on as they explored deeper into the forest. Leo asked questions about everything he saw, and Talon answered cautiously, offering only as much as he believed the human could handle. Sometimes Talon noticed that he himself learned from Leo. Seeing Virelia through human eyes made him notice things he had overlooked. He began to appreciate the subtle beauty of his world not as a warrior, but as a being capable of wonder. As they reached a river of liquid crystal flowing through the forest, Leo stopped to examine the patterns of light on the water. Talon, these crystals, your world, your people, you protect all of this so fiercely. Why, what drives you? Talon stared at the flowing river. Because it is mine to protect. Because it is my duty. Because it must survive. That is enough. Leo shook his head. No, there must be more. You fight and protect. But why does your heart guide you beyond duty? I can see it. The care you have is not just for your people, but for this world, for life itself. Talon felt a tightening in his chest. He did not know how to explain what he felt. He had always believed that strength alone defined him, that survival was his only purpose. Yet Leo's words challenged him, opening a door he had long locked. Perhaps you are not like others, Talon said quietly. Perhaps your understanding is different. Leo smiled. I am human. We see the world in ways you may not expect. And sometimes we see what is hidden inside those who seem untouchable. The warrior did not respond. He only observed as Leo's eyes moved across the crystals, absorbing every detail with careful reverence. Talon realized that the human's admiration was not shallow. Leo appreciated the effort, the skill, and the heart that Talon had never allowed anyone to see. As night approached, they made camp in a small clearing. Leo had built a small energy shelter to protect himself, while Talon remained outside patrolling the area. Yet he did not move far. For the first time, he did not feel the need to keep distance. He felt an unusual sense of responsibility and curiosity. Around the glowing campfire crystals, Leo spoke softly. Talon, why do you keep to yourself? Why do you not let anyone come closer? Talon's gaze was fixed on the forest beyond. People fear me. They do not understand strength. They do not see beyond the surface. I am alone because it is safer that way, for them and for me. Leo leaned closer. But fear does not have to decide your life. Connection, trust, and understanding can be stronger than fear. I am here. I am not afraid. The warrior's chest tightened. He had never allowed anyone to speak to him like this. No one had ever challenged the walls he had built around himself. Yet he did not push Leo away. He remained silent, listening as the human spoke about Earth, about human life, and about curiosity and courage. As the night deepened, Talon found himself walking to Leo's shelter. He stood silently at the edge, watching the human arrange his belongings, preparing for the night. "You are persistent," Talon said softly. Leo looked up, smiling in the firelight. "And you are observant. I am learning from you, Talon, but perhaps you are learning from me too." Talon did not answer, but he did not leave. He simply observed, and in that observation something new began to grow. He was aware of it. A feeling he had never known before, a connection to another being that did not rely on fear or duty. It was a bond built on trust, respect, and shared curiosity. The night passed quietly. The crystals around them glowed softly, illuminating the clearing like a gentle aurora. Talon sat a short distance from Leo, feeling an unfamiliar warmth. He did not fully understand it, but he did not wish to escape it. By morning, Talon found himself walking alongside the human through the forest. They moved as a team, silently communicating with gestures and glances. When Leo stumbled, Talon's hand was there to steady him. When Talon paused to observe danger, Leo waited patiently. They had become partners in a way neither had expected. As they reached the edge of a crystal canyon, Leo paused. "Talon, do you think we could see more of your world together? Not just for survival, but to understand it, to share it?" Talon hesitated. He had spent centuries guarding his land and his heart, keeping both closed to outsiders. Yet something in Leo's voice and his determination made the warrior consider the possibility. For the first time, Talon felt the stirring of hope, a chance that he could allow another to see him, to understand him. "I will show you," Talon said finally, "but you must follow my rules. Observe, respect, and survive. Nothing more, nothing less." Leo smiled brightly. "That is all I ask, Talon. I want to see your world, learn from you, and understand you. That is enough for me." Talon nodded, and together they stepped deeper into the forest, the morning light dancing on the crystals around them. The bond between warrior and human had begun. It was fragile, new, and uncertain, but it was real. And for Talon, it was the first step toward a future he had never imagined. A future where strength alone was not enough, and where connection, trust, and understanding could be a kind of power even greater than battle. As they moved forward, Talon kept glancing at the human beside him. Leo did not fear him, did not judge him, and did not try to change him. He simply saw him, appreciated him, and trusted him. For Talon, that was more than he had ever experienced. The sun rose pale and weak over the jagged mountains of Virelia. Talon and Leo had been exploring the outer forest for days, learning from each other and testing their trust in ways neither had expected. Talon moved silently ahead, ever alert, while Leo followed with careful attention, absorbing every lesson and every signal the warrior offered. Talon's mind, however, was not entirely at ease. For years he had kept his past locked behind walls even higher than those around his heart. Memories of battles, betrayals, and loss haunted him. The rival tribes that had once challenged his leadership, the warriors he had lost in skirmishes, and the decisions he had been forced to make to protect Virelia, all of it weighed on him. He had never spoken of these things to anyone. Not to his people, and certainly not to humans. Humans were fragile, and he feared they could not understand. Yet with Leo, he found the strange impulse to share fragments of his past. Not all, but enough that he could begin to see the trust forming between them. As they moved along a ridge overlooking a wide valley, Talon stopped. He surveyed the land below. Jagged rocks rose like teeth from the ground, and rivers of crystal shimmered like molten silver. But Talon's sharp eyes detected movement that Leo could not see. Small figures, armed and swift, were approaching the valley. Talon's lips tightened. "Trouble," he said simply. Leo glanced at him. "What is it?" "Rival tribe," Talon replied. "They have come to challenge Virelia, to take what does not belong to them." Leo's eyes widened, but he did not falter. "Can I help?" he asked. Talon studied the human. In past battles, he had relied solely on his strength, strategy, and instincts. But Leo's courage was different. It did not come from muscle or weaponry. It came from thought, patience, and a willingness to face danger despite fear. Talon realized that perhaps this human could indeed help, in ways he himself had not considered. "We must move carefully," Talon said. "You will not fight with a weapon. You will observe, think, and warn me. Follow exactly what I say. No deviations, Leo nodded. I understand. The two of them moved swiftly through the forest, keeping low and using the terrain to their advantage. Talon led Leo to a high ridge overlooking the rival tribe's path. From there, they could see dozens of warriors preparing to cross the valley. Talon's tribe would be ready, but the timing had to be perfect. They will attack at noon, Talon said. We must be prepared before then. We will set traps, create diversions, and use the terrain against them. Your job is to alert me if anything changes. Leo nodded again. I can do that. For the next few hours, Talon moved with precision, setting traps among the rocks, marking paths, and positioning defenders. Leo followed, learning quickly how the warrior thought, how he anticipated every possible move of his enemy. Despite the danger, Leo's calm presence reassured Talon. The human's curiosity had turned into focus, and focus into courage. When the rival tribe finally descended into the valley, Talon and his warriors were ready. The first clash was brutal. Talon moved like a shadow, striking swiftly and retreating before his opponents could react. His skill was unmatched, but the battlefield was chaotic. Rocks shifted, weapons clanged, and the sound of battle echoed across the valley. Leo watched from a ridge, his heart pounding, but he did not run. He signaled Talon when enemy movements changed, noticing patterns and gaps that Talon could exploit. The warrior, in turn, used these signals to anticipate attacks and protect his people. Together they became a silent, unspoken team, their bond strengthened by the intensity of the moment. Amid the chaos, Talon saw a figure of a young enemy warrior moving toward Leo. Without hesitation, he dashed through the battlefield, cutting through opponents with unmatched speed. He reached Leo just in time to block an attack meant for the human. Stay close, Talon shouted, his amber eyes fierce. Leo nodded, his trust complete. He had never doubted Talon's strength, yet now he realized the depth of it. Not just skill, but a willingness to protect someone else, even at great risk. The battle continued for hours, but Talon's strategies, combined with Leo's observations, turned the tide. The rival tribe faltered, their attacks losing coordination. Talon's people, inspired by his leadership, fought with renewed determination. When the last of the enemy retreated, the valley fell silent. The warriors of Viewership were victorious, but the cost was heavy. Talon stood among his people, his breathing steady but his heart still racing. He looked toward Leo, who had emerged unscathed but wide-eyed from the experience. You were brave, Talon said quietly. Leo smiled, though his hands shook slightly. You saved me. I only followed your lead. Talon studied him. For the first time, he allowed himself to feel the weight of gratitude, not for survival, not for duty, but for the human who had trusted him completely. Talon had never experienced this kind of bond, this kind of connection that did not rely on fear or authority. As the sun set, the valley bathed in soft golden light. Talon and Leo walked toward the crystal river. Talon's thoughts were heavy with reflection. He had always believed that strength alone defined his life, that survival and protection were his only purpose. Yet now he felt something more, a feeling he did not yet understand, but one that was undeniably powerful. Leo stopped by the river, gazing at the reflection of the glowing crystals. Talon, I want to understand more. About you, about your people, about this world. Not as a human looking from outside, but as someone who wants to see it with you. Talon hesitated. No one had ever asked to see him so openly, so honestly. He had always kept his heart locked, believing that no one could withstand the truth of his experiences, his pain, or his solitude. Yet standing there beside Leo, he felt the stirrings of trust, the desire to share fragments of himself he had long hidden. You must be patient, Talon said finally. There is much you do not know, much you cannot yet understand. But if you are willing to learn, I will show you. Leo's eyes lit up. I am willing. They spent the evening near the river, Talon sharing tales of past battles and lessons he had learned. He spoke cautiously, offering only what he believed Leo could handle. The human listened with rapt attention, asking questions with gentle curiosity, never judgment. Each story, each lesson drew Talon closer to a realization he could not yet name. He began to see the value of connection, the strength in trust, and the courage it took to open one's heart. When night fell, the two of them sat among the glowing crystals, the reflections creating 1,000 tiny stars around them. Talon found himself speaking of things he had never spoken aloud, the losses he had suffered, the friends and warriors he had buried, the moments of doubt and regret. Leo listened silently, never interrupting, never pushing, simply offering presence and understanding. "You are not alone, Talon," Leo said softly. "You have strength, yes, but you also have a heart capable of more than battle." "I see it, I see you." Talon's chest tightened. The human's words touched a place he had long closed. For the first time, he realized that courage was not just about fighting or surviving. Courage could also be about trust, about connection, about allowing another to see the real you. He looked at Leo, his amber eyes reflecting the glow of the crystals. "Why do you see me differently?" he asked, his voice quiet but filled with genuine curiosity. Leo smiled. "Because I look beyond fear and strength. I see what others ignore. I see the truth in you." Talon did not know how to respond. Words had never been his strength. But he did not need to. In that moment, the bond between warrior and human deepened. It was unspoken yet undeniable. Trust, respect, and admiration intertwined, forming a connection that neither could ignore. As the stars of Viralia shone above, Talon felt the first stirrings of hope. Hope that he could allow someone to stand beside him, to witness not just his strength but his heart. Hope that perhaps he could discover a life beyond solitude, beyond fear, beyond battle. And for the first time, Talon allowed himself to consider that Leo was not just a visitor, not just a curious human. He was someone who had changed the rhythm of Talon's world, someone who had sparked a feeling the warrior had never known, someone who might be the key to a future Talon had never dared to imagine. The night was quiet, the crystal river reflecting their images in soft light. Talon sat close to Leo, silent but aware of the presence beside him. He did not need to speak. He did not need to explain. The bond was there, unspoken yet real, stronger than any armor or weapon. And as the gentle hum of the crystals filled the night, Talon knew one truth with certainty. The arrival of this human had shifted something deep within him. The warrior who had lived for battle alone had found the spark of connection, the first true companionship he had ever known. For Talon, the shadows of the past were still present, but now they were tempered by the light of trust, courage, and the unexpected bond of a human who dared to see him as he truly was. The early morning sun bathed the crystal forests of Viralia in soft gold. Talon and Leo had been traveling for days, mapping uncharted areas of the planet and learning from each other's presence. The bond between them had grown stronger with every shared step, every lesson learned and every danger overcome. Talon had never thought he would allow someone so close, yet Leo's courage, curiosity, and kindness had begun to break down the walls he had built around his heart. That morning, however, the air carried an unusual tension. Talon's sharp eyes scanned the horizon, noting distant movements among the cliffs. "We are not alone," he said quietly. Leo followed Talon's gaze. "Who is there?" "Mercenaries," Talon replied. "From another star system. They seek the energy crystals of Viralia. They do not care for life, only power and profit." Leo's heart quickened, but he did not panic. "Can we stop them?" he asked. Talon studied the human. "We can, but it will be dangerous. More dangerous than any battle we have faced before. You must trust me completely." "I do," Leo said without hesitation. Talon nodded. "Then follow me and do exactly as I say. Your life depends on it." They moved swiftly through the forest, Talon leading Leo along hidden paths and over rocky ridges. Every step was calculated, every movement precise. The alien warrior's instincts were sharp as ever, and Leo found himself relying not only on his trust in Talon, but also on the skills he had learned over the past days. He was no longer a mere observer. He was a partner, anticipating danger, watching for movement and communicating silently through gestures. When they reached the edge of a deep canyon, Talon stopped. Below, a group of mercenaries was moving carefully, scanning the terrain for crystals. Their weapons glimmered in the sunlight and their steps were precise. Talon's jaw tightened. "They are well trained," he said. "We cannot fight them head on. We must use strategy, terrain, and surprise." Leo nodded. "What do you want me to do?" "Stay with me. Watch their movements. Signal when they change direction. Do not act without my command," Talon instructed. For hours they observed the mercenaries, noting every weakness and every pattern. Talon silently devised a plan, using the canyon walls, crystal formations, and hidden pathways to their advantage. He positioned traps, diversions, and obstacles, ensuring that the mercenaries would not be able to advance without difficulty. Finally, the time came. Talon signaled to Leo, and the human moved swiftly to the designated point, ready to alert the warrior to any sudden changes. The first clash began with a controlled explosion, rocks and crystal shards tumbling down to block the enemy's path. Talon struck like lightning, taking down opponents with unmatched precision. Leo's alerts guided him, pointing out movements that the mercenaries thought were hidden. The battle raged for hours. Talon fought with every ounce of his skill, protecting not only himself but also Leo and the nearby villagers who had come to help. Leo stayed close, observing, signaling, and ensuring that Talon had the information he needed. The human's courage impressed the warrior. Leo did not wield weapons, yet his presence changed the course of the fight. His trust and calm determination allowed Talon to focus fully, striking with accuracy and speed. In the heat of the battle, Talon noticed a mercenary aiming directly at Leo. Without hesitation, he lunged forward, intercepting the attack and shielding the human with his body. Sparks flew from the mercenary's weapon as Talon deflected the blow, then countered with a swift strike that sent the attacker tumbling into a crystal formation. "You must stay close," Talon shouted, his amber eyes fierce. Leo nodded, his trust complete. He had seen Talon's strength before, but now he understood its depth. Not just skill, but a willingness to protect, to sacrifice, and to care. The battle continued, but the strategy Talon had prepared, combined with Leo's observations, began to turn the tide. The mercenaries, though powerful, were unprepared for the terrain, the traps, and the coordination between the alien warrior and the human. One by one they fell back, retreating into the distance. The valley was quiet again, the crystal forests glowing softly in the late afternoon sun. Talon looked at Leo, who had not been harmed but whose face showed the strain of adrenaline and fear. "You did well," Talon said quietly. Leo smiled, though he was tired. "I only followed your lead. You saved me more than once." Talon's chest tightened. The human's words, spoken without pride or expectation, touched something deep within him. For the first time, he realized that strength alone was not enough. Protection, trust, and connection were equally powerful. As the two walked back to a safe area, Talon spoke softly. "You are different from other humans I have met. You do not fear me. You do not judge me. You see me?" Leo looked up at him, eyes bright. "Because I do, Talon. I see you not just as a warrior, but as someone who cares, someone who protects, someone who has a heart, even if it is hidden." The warrior's gaze softened. He had never allowed anyone to see that part of him before. The past, with its battles and losses, had taught him to keep everything locked away, but Leo's presence, his unwavering courage, and his understanding had begun to break those walls. That evening, under the glow of the crystal forests, Talon and Leo sat together near a quiet river. The water reflected the light of the crystals, creating 1,000 tiny stars around them. Talon remained silent for a long moment, then spoke. "I have fought many battles. I have lost companions, friends, and family. I have faced enemies who sought to destroy everything I care for. I have always believed that strength alone would protect what I love." Leo listened, his expression gentle. "And now?" Talon's amber eyes met the human's. "Now I see that courage, trust, and connection are just as powerful. And you have shown me that there is strength in allowing another to see you as you truly are." Leo reached out, placing a hand on Talon's arm. "You are not alone anymore, Talon. You never have to be." The warrior felt a warmth he had never known, a soft light in the darkness that had surrounded him for so long. He did not speak. He did not need to. The connection was real, unspoken yet undeniable. As the night deepened, the crystal forests glowed softly around them. Talon and Leo shared stories, laughter, and quiet moments of reflection. The bond between them had grown stronger than any weapon, deeper than any strategy, and more enduring than any battle. Talon realized that he could trust Leo completely, that he could allow someone to see his strength, his fears, and his heart without judgment. He had found a companion, not just in survival, but in life. The following days were spent preparing for potential threats, strengthening the defenses of the valley, and exploring the deeper parts of the crystal forests. Talon trained Leo further, teaching him how to move silently, observe carefully, and anticipate danger. In return, Leo shared insights from his own world, showing Talon how strategy, Observation and empathy could shape outcomes even more effectively than raw strength. Together, they became an unstoppable team. Talon's skill and courage, combined with Leo's insight and calm determination, allowed them to face challenges that neither could have overcome alone. They were not just warrior and human, they were partners, equals in their shared purpose. One evening, as they rested on a cliff overlooking the valley, Talon turned to Leo. "You have changed me, human. I never believed anyone could see me, truly see me. But you do," Leo smiled. "Because you allowed me to. You trusted me, Talon. That is more than many warriors would ever do." The warrior's amber eyes softened. For the first time, he felt the stirrings of something more than trust. He felt the beginnings of a heart capable of love, of connection, and of companionship. The battles he had fought, the losses he had endured, and the solitude he had embraced for centuries had led him to this moment, standing beside a human who saw him for who he truly was. As the stars of Virelia shone above, Talon realized that his life had changed forever. The warrior who had lived for battle alone had discovered something far more powerful. The strength found in connection, the courage to trust, and the heart capable of love. And for the first time in his life, Talon allowed himself to hope. Hope that together, he and Leo could face whatever challenges lay ahead, not just as warrior and human, but as companions, equals, and friends bound by trust and understanding. The night passed peacefully, the glowing crystals illuminating their path. Talon stayed close to Leo, aware of the presence beside him and aware of the bond they had forged in fire, strategy, and trust. He did not need to speak. He did not need to explain. The bond was real, stronger than any weapon or armor. And under the stars of Virelia, Talon knew a truth he could not ignore. The arrival of this human had shifted something deep within him. The warrior who had lived for battle and solitude had found a spark of companionship, a heart capable of connection, and a new purpose beyond strength alone. The morning light touched the peaks of Virelia's crystal forests with gentle gold. Talon and Leo had spent days preparing the valley for any threat. The mercenaries they had faced before were only the beginning. Talon knew that other forces might try to take the planet's rare crystals, and he would not allow Virelia or its people to suffer. Leo stood beside him on a ridge, looking out over the glowing valley below. "Talon," he said, "you have done so much for your people. For this land, I want to help in any way I can." Talon glanced at him, amber eyes thoughtful. "You already have, human. You have shown courage, insight, and trust. That is more valuable than any weapon." Leo smiled. "Then we will face whatever comes together." Talon felt a warmth in his chest he had never known. He had spent centuries living alone, believing that strength alone was enough. But now, with Leo by his side, he understood that true strength came from trust, companionship, and the willingness to care for others, even at great risk. Hours later, a distant rumble echoed across the valley. Talon's sharp eyes scanned the horizon. A fleet of enemy ships had arrived, descending slowly through the sky. The mercenaries were back, larger in number and better prepared. This would be Talon's greatest challenge yet. "We must act quickly," Talon said. "The valley and our people are at risk. Follow my lead, Leo, and do not stray from my side." "I am ready," Leo replied. The two moved through the forest with silent precision, Talon leading and Leo following. Talon had prepared traps along the ridges and crystal paths, while Leo used his knowledge of patterns and observation to anticipate enemy movements. Their teamwork was flawless, their trust in each other absolute. As the enemy landed, Talon struck first, moving with lightning speed to disable the attackers before they could reach the villages. Leo guided him, signaling when enemy forces approached from unexpected directions. The mercenaries were skilled, but they were not prepared for Talon's strategy and Leo's insight. Hours passed and the battle raged. Talon moved like a shadow, striking swiftly and retreating before the enemy could react. Leo stayed close, calling out alerts and helping direct defenses. Together, they created a system of communication and coordination that allowed their people to fight effectively. In the midst of the battle, one of the enemy commanders broke through their defenses, heading straight for Leo. Talon reacted instantly, placing himself between the human and the attacker. The clash of weapons rang sharply in the air as Talon deflected the blow and countered with a swift strike that incapacitated the commander. "You are safe," Talon shouted, his voice filled with urgency. Leo nodded, trust shining in his eyes. I know. The battle continued, but with Talon's skill and Leo's guidance, the mercenaries began to falter. Talon's people, inspired by their leader and the human who had stood by him, fought with courage and determination. Slowly, the enemy forces were pushed back, retreating toward their ships. Finally, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the valley was silent. The mercenaries had been defeated, their ships fleeing into the distance. Talon and Leo stood together on the ridge, breathing heavily but alive. You did it, Leo said softly, looking at the warrior beside him. Talon's amber eyes softened. We did it. Together. They descended into the valley where Talon's people were tending to the wounded and celebrating their survival. Talon noticed the way the villagers looked at him, not with fear but with respect and admiration. And beside him, Leo's presence was a reminder that strength alone was not what had saved them. Trust, courage, and connection had played a role just as important. That evening, Talon and Leo walked among the glowing crystals near the river. The water reflected the soft light of the stars above, creating a serene and peaceful atmosphere. Talon's thoughts drifted, thinking about everything that had happened. The battles, the losses, the challenges, and the unexpected bond that had grown between them. Leo spoke first. Talon, I know you have always fought alone, but now you have a choice. You can continue as a lone warrior, or you can allow yourself to share your life, your strength, and your heart with someone who sees you as you truly are. Talon looked at him, amber eyes reflecting the glowing crystals. He had spent centuries building walls around himself, believing that isolation was protection. Yet Leo's words stirred something deep inside him, a desire he had never allowed himself to feel. Talon began, then paused. Words were not easy for him, but he continued slowly. I have never allowed anyone to see me, never trusted anyone with my past, my pain, or my strength. But you are different. You do not fear me. You see me and you have stayed, Leo smiled gently. That is all I ask, Talon. To be seen, to be understood, and to be trusted. Talon felt a warmth in his chest that was stronger than any weapon or shield. He reached out, taking Leo's hand in his own. The gesture was simple, yet filled with meaning. It was a promise of trust, companionship, and shared strength. For the first time in his life, Talon allowed himself to hope. Hope for a future where he was not alone, where he could share victories, challenges, and quiet moments with someone who truly understood him. Hope that his strength could be paired with connection, and that his heart, once locked away, could be open to love and trust. The following days were filled with rebuilding and exploration. Talon and Leo moved through the crystal forests, helping their people recover, strengthening defenses, and learning more about each other and the world around them. Their bond continued to grow based on shared experience, respect, and the courage to face challenges together. One afternoon, as they rested near a high cliff overlooking the valley, Talon spoke softly. Leo, do you think it is possible for someone like me to live a life beyond battle? To protect without constant struggle, to lead without fear, to connect without hesitation? Leo looked at him, eyes full of warmth. I believe it is possible, Talon, because you have already begun. You have faced danger, trusted me, and allowed yourself to care. That is the first step toward a life that is stronger than any battle you have fought. Talon nodded, feeling a sense of peace he had never known. He had spent centuries defining himself by strength, skill, and survival. Now he understood that true power came from connection, trust, and the courage to allow someone to see his heart. As the sun set, casting golden light over the crystal forests, Talon and Leo walked side by side, their hands brushing together. It was a small gesture, yet it spoke volumes: trust, companionship, and the possibility of something deeper. Later, under the stars, they sat together near the river, the glowing crystals creating reflections like tiny stars around them. Talon looked at Leo and finally asked the question that had been on his mind since the first day they met. Why do you call me beautiful, human? Leo smiled, eyes reflecting the light of the crystals. Because I see you, Talon. I see your strength, your courage, your care, and your heart. That is beauty, not just in form but in being. And that is why you are beautiful to me. Talon felt the words settle in his chest, filling him with warmth and understanding. For the first time, he accepted that beauty was not just something to be admired from afar, but something that existed within him. waiting for someone to notice and understand it. He reached out, taking Leo's hand fully this time, holding it gently yet firmly. The gesture was not just about trust or connection, it was a promise. A promise that he would no longer live in isolation, that he would allow himself to share his life, his strength, and his heart with someone who truly understood him. Together, they walked through the crystal forests, the soft glow illuminating their path. Talon felt lighter than he had in centuries, his heart open for the first time. He realized that the battles he had fought, the losses he had endured, and the solitude he had embraced had all led him to this moment, a moment of trust, connection, and love. The villagers watched from afar, seeing the change in the warrior who had once been untouchable. Talon was no longer just a leader or protector. He was someone capable of connection, someone who could love and be loved. Leo's presence had transformed him, showing him a future that was not just about survival, but about living fully with purpose, courage, and heart. And as the stars shone brightly above Veralia, Talon knew one truth with certainty. His life had changed forever. The warrior who had lived for battle alone had discovered something far more powerful: trust, companionship, and a heart capable of connection. For the first time, Talon allowed himself to hope, to dream, and to live beyond the boundaries of fear and solitude.
He had found a companion, a partner, and a friend.
Together, he and Leo would explore the world, face any challenge, and discover the true strength of connection. The crystal forests glowed softly around them. The river reflected the light of the stars, and the valley was peaceful once more. Talon walked beside Leo, hand in hand, feeling the warmth of companionship and the promise of a future filled with trust, courage, and love. The lone warrior of Veralia was no longer alone. He had been seen, understood, and accepted, and for the first time Talon knew that true strength came not only from skill in battle, but from the heart that dared to trust, to connect, and to love. Together, Talon and Leo looked out over the valley, ready for whatever adventures the stars above would bring.